In the year 2463, the Earth was not how it used to be. Cities were no longer free. People lived under strict rules, and every human was born with a glowing mark on their hand called the Destiny Code. This code decided everything: your job, your partner, your place in society, and even the day you would die. People believed it was the will of the universe. They were taught not to question it. But deep in the shadows of the ruined city of New Chicago, there lived a boy who had no code at all. His name was Evan. Evan was 15. He had sharp eyes, quick hands, and a mind full of questions. He had grown up in the outer zones, where broken buildings stood like skeletons and no one cared if you lived or died. But Evan was different. While other orphans feared the Destiny Guards, Evan watched them. While others believed the stories about the code being a gift, Evan felt something was wrong. One night, while stealing food from an old shop, Evan looked at his hand. No glow, no mark. He was what people whispered about: a glitch. It was rare. Most glitches were taken away by the guards. Nobody ever saw them again. Suddenly, Evan heard the sound of boots on broken glass. Guards. 4 of them. He quickly grabbed a stale loaf of bread and ducked behind a collapsed wall. The guards were searching. One of them said, "The scanner picked him up. No code. He's nearby." Evan's heart pounded. He crawled through a dark tunnel under the rubble. He had memorized these paths. That's how he survived, by staying underground, staying unseen. After a few minutes, he reached his safe place. It was a small, hidden room under an old train station. There, he lit a small lamp, sat down, and ate the bread. But something was bothering him. Why now? Why were the guards searching for him after all these years? That night, Evan couldn't sleep. The silence was heavy. He looked around the room. There were old books, broken machines, and one wall he had never opened. It was sealed with steel, and a strange symbol was drawn on it. Evan had always ignored it. But tonight, something pulled him toward it. He placed his hand on the wall. Nothing. He sighed. Just another dead end. But then, the wall made a soft sound, click, and slowly slid open. Evan stepped back. A hidden room. Dark, cold, and full of dust. He took his lamp and stepped inside. In the middle of the room stood a single chair. On it lay a small device, like a flat black cube, and next to it, a notebook. He opened the notebook. The pages were yellow and fragile. The first page read, "Destiny is a lie. They control us, but we were never meant to be slaves." Evan froze. He turned more pages. The writer spoke of aliens, a race called the Vorniks. They had come 100 years ago, pretending to be gods. They gave humans the Destiny Code. It was never about peace. It was control. The last line on the last page said, "One without a code will rise. He will see through the illusion. He will lead the fight." Evan dropped the book. His hands shook. I'm the glitch." At that moment, the door behind him slammed shut. Heavy steps echoed in the tunnel outside. Guards. He had stayed too long. Evan grabbed the notebook and the cube. He climbed through a small hole in the corner of the hidden room and ran through the dark tunnels. His mind was spinning. If the destiny code was fake, if everything people believed was a lie, then who was he really? The guard shouted behind him. "Stop! You're coming with us!" But Evan didn't stop. He couldn't, because for the first time in his life, he had a purpose, not to survive, but to fight back. Evan ran through the cold tunnels of New Chicago. Behind him, voices echoed. Guards were close. His legs hurt, but he didn't stop. He held the black cube tight in one hand and the notebook in the other. The words kept repeating in his mind. Destiny is a lie. He turned sharply and reached a wall covered in moss and dust. He pressed a stone, and a secret door opened. It led to a deeper tunnel, a place even the guards didn't know. He had heard stories about this place. It was called the Resistance Zone. The air was heavy and damp. Lights flickered overhead. Evan walked slowly, unsure if he was going the right way. Then he heard a click. A weapon. "Stop there," a voice warned. Evan raised his hands. "I'm not with the guards. Please. I'm a glitch." A woman stepped into the light. She had short black hair, sharp eyes, and a gun in her hand. "Everyone says that." He showed her his hand. No code. Then he held out the notebook. "I found this. It says the code is a lie, that someone like me would come." She stared at the notebook. Her eyes widened. "Where did you get this?" she asked. "An old room, hidden behind a steel wall." She looked at him carefully. "Follow me." Her name was Dr. Celine. She led him through narrow tunnels until they reached a large hall filled with machines, lights, and people. The Resistance. Evan looked around, amazed. "I thought no one was left." Celine smiled slightly. "Most people gave up, but not all." They entered a private room filled with old tech and maps. She placed the cube on a table and opened the notebook. "This belonged to my father," she said. "He was one of the last scientists who fought the Vorniks." Evan frowned. "So it's true? Aliens gave us the destiny code?" Celine nodded. "Yes. 100 years ago, the sky turned red. Ships came. The Vorniks claimed to be gods. They said the code would bring peace. No war, no hunger. But they lied. The code was a cage." Evan sat down slowly. "Why would they do that?" "Because humans are dangerous when free," she replied. "We think. We rebel. The Vorniks couldn't control our minds, so they gave us a system that made us control ourselves." He thought about his whole life, the schools, the rules, the people living quiet, empty lives. "All fake," he whispered. Celine looked at him. "Seriously?" "You're different, Evan. You weren't born with a code. That means your DNA isn't connected to the Vornik system. That makes you a threat to them." Evan blinked. "Why me?" "My father and his team tried to create free humans in secret. People without the code. Most were taken, but one baby escaped." Evan's chest tightened. "Me?" She nodded. "Yes, you're the first successful glitch, the only one left." He stared at the cube. "What is this?" Celine hesitated. "It's a key, but we don't know what it unlocks. My father said it would only open when the right person touches it." Evan slowly reached for the cube. The moment his fingers touched it, the cube glowed blue and floated in the air. It spun fast, then opened, showing a hologram of an old man, Celine's. "Father," the message said, "if you see this, the world is still blind. But you, child without chains, are the hope. Find Project Nova. It will help you break the sky." The message ended. Celine's hands were shaking. "Project Nova. It's real." Evan asked. "What is it?" She turned to him. "A weapon. But not just any weapon. It's alive. It was hidden deep under the ocean. If we can find it, we can destroy the code system." Suddenly, alarms blared. People shouted outside. Selene grabbed her weapon. "The guards found us. Someone gave us away." Evan stood quickly. "What do we do?" She looked at him with sharp eyes. "We escape, and we find Nova." They rushed through a back tunnel. Explosions rocked the ground. Lights blinked out. Screams echoed behind them. As they climbed into a hidden rail car, Selene said, "We have one chance. If we fail, Earth stays under their control forever." The car began to move. Evan looked back at the burning zone, then at the cube glowing in his hand. He didn't know how, but he was ready. The war for freedom had begun. The old rail car shook as it moved through the dark tunnel. Evan sat near the front, holding the glowing cube tightly. Selene stood beside him, checking her tablet for directions. "Where are we going?" Evan asked. "To the coast," she replied. "There's an abandoned base under the sea. That's where Project Nova is hidden." Evan looked confused. "Why hide it in the ocean?" Selene explained. "It was Earth's final defense system before the Vornix came. A weapon too powerful to leave on land. Only a few people knew its location. My father was one of them." The car stopped at an empty station. They climbed out and walked along a path covered in dust and vines. Old metal signs read, "Zone 5, military access only." After an hour of walking, they reached a steel platform with a large gate. Selene scanned her hand on a broken panel. Nothing happened. "It needs power," she said. Evan stepped forward, still holding the cube. As he got closer, the panel blinked and the gate opened slowly. Selene raised her eyebrows. "It reacts to you." Behind the gate, an old elevator waited. They stepped inside, and it dropped deep into the earth. A few minutes later, the door opened into a huge dark chamber filled with machines, broken lights, and silence. "This is it," Selene said. "The base where humanity made its last stand." They moved through the hall until they reached a round door. It had the symbol Evan had seen in the notebook, a circle with a crack through it. "This is the room," Selene whispered. "Nova is inside." She typed a code into the panel. The door opened slowly, revealing a large silver pod in the center. Wires and metal arms wrapped around it like a sleeping giant. "That's Project Nova," she said. "It's not just a machine. It's a thinking weapon, an AI built with human emotions." Evan stepped closer. "It's beautiful." Selene walked to a console and pressed a few buttons. "We need to wake it up." The pod lit up. Lights blinked. A soft voice spoke. "Identity not recognized. State your purpose." Evan cleared his throat. "I'm Evan. I don't have a destiny. Code, I need your help to save Earth." There was silence. Then the voice replied, "You are unmarked. You are not part of the system. Why should I help you?" Evan looked at Selene, then back at the pod. Because I believe in freedom. Because people deserve to choose their own lives, and because your creators wanted to protect humans like me. A soft hum filled the room. Emotion detected. Sincerity. Processing. The pod unlocked. Slowly it opened. Inside stood a tall silver figure, half machine, half human. Its eyes glowed blue. It stepped forward. I am Nova, the last guardian of human will. Celine smiled. It worked. But Nova's voice turned cold. Before I help you, I must test you. Suddenly the room changed. Lights flashed. Walls moved. The floor shifted beneath Evan's feet. He was in a simulation, a battlefield. Explosions filled the air. Evan looked around, confused. Nova's voice echoed, "Prove your courage. Prove your heart." Metal creatures rushed at him. Evan ran, dodging attacks, using everything Celine had taught him. He grabbed a broken rod and defended himself. Pain, fear, and anger filled his mind, but he kept going. Finally, the creatures vanished. The room turned dark. Nova appeared before him. You fought without giving up. You saved the weak when you could have run. You are worthy. Evan dropped to his knees, breathing hard. Celine rushed in and helped him stand. Nova looked at them both. The Vorniks still control the sky. Their destiny core is strong. But I can help you reach it. Evan asked, "What do we do now?" Nova pointed to a screen showing the Earth. Red towers blinked across the map. We destroy their control towers. Without those, the code system will fall. Celine nodded. Then we start with the closest one. Evan stared at the screen. His hands were shaking, but his eyes were full of fire. Let's begin, he said. It's time we take our planet back. High above Earth, hidden in deep space, a massive black ship floated silently. Inside its cold metal halls, the leaders of the Vorniks Empire met. Tall, thin, and glowing with green energy, the Vorniks were not pleased. A red light blinked. A soft voice reported, "Nova has been reactivated." The Vorniks Queen, a tall creature with silver skin and glowing eyes, stood up. Her voice was calm but sharp. "The glitch is alive, and he has found the weapon." Another Vorniks bowed. "Shall we destroy him?" The Queen looked out through the glass window at the Earth far below. "No. Not yet. I want to see what he does. Then, we erase him." Meanwhile, back on Earth, Evan stood with Celine and Nova inside the command center of the old underwater base. On the giant screen, red dots showed the Vorniks control towers around the planet. Nova explained, "Each tower sends the destiny code signal. If we destroy even one, it will free a whole zone." Evan pointed to a red dot near New Chicago. "That's close. Let's start there." Celine nodded. "We'll move fast." Before they notice, they prepared for the mission. Nova upgraded Evan's suit with light armor and a special device on his wrist. "This will help you block code signals," Nova said. "You can also use it to disable short-range enemy tech." Evan looked at it. "What if it fails?" Nova replied, "Then you fight with your heart, like you always do." They reached the first tower just before midnight. It stood tall and glowing red, guarded by machines and drones. Selene whispered. The weak spot is under the main panel. We need to get close. Evan nodded. He and Nova moved quietly. They stayed low, using shadows and ruins for cover. Then, one of the drones spotted them. An alarm rang out. Go! Evan shouted. Nova charged forward, crashing into the guards. Evan ran toward the tower. Lasers flew past him. He ducked and rolled, reaching the control panel. Selene's voice came through the earpiece. Cut the green wire, then the blue. Evan opened the panel and worked fast. The wires sparked. His hand shook. But then, click, the red light on the tower flickered and died. The drones stopped moving. The sky above turned from red to clear. People in the city below looked up in shock. Their destiny marks faded. For the first time in their lives, their minds felt free. Selene ran up, smiling. You did it, Evan looked around. We have to do more. One tower won't stop them. But far above, the Vornix Queen had seen everything. She slammed her hand on the control table. Foolish humans, she hissed. Send the Reapers. Let them burn the rebels. Back at the base, Evan was helping people understand their freedom. Many were scared. Some cried. Others laughed. We can think, said an old man. We can choose again. Nova warned. This peace will not last. The Vornix will strike soon. Suddenly, an alert came in. A ship had entered Earth's sky, black, sharp, and fast. It dropped metal soldiers called Reapers into cities across the planet. They're attacking everywhere, Selene said. We woke them up. Evan looked at the screen. Flames, smoke, and screams filled the images. We need to fight, he said. Selena hesitated. We don't have enough people. Nova stepped forward. Then I will go alone. I can hold them. Evan shook his head. Not alone. I'll go with you. Selene gave him a tracking device. We'll find each other again. In the middle of the burning city, Evan and Nova landed. Reapers marched through the streets, grabbing anyone without a code. One boy ran out to help his mother but was kicked down. Evan rushed in and pushed the Reaper away. He touched its chest with his wrist device. The Reaper stopped and dropped. The boy looked up. Who are you? Evan smiled. Someone who believes you should be free. Together, he and Nova moved through the city, saving people, destroying Reapers. People began to follow them. They saw hope in Evan's eyes. Hope they hadn't felt in years. But not everything was safe. From the shadows, a figure watched. Commander Raiden, once a high officer in the old Earth Order, now stood with the Vornix. He believed in peace through control. And he hated rebels. They are making people dream again, he whispered. That must end. Back at the base, Selene listened to the news from cities around the world. He's doing it, she said softly. He's waking them up. But deep inside, she feared something. If Evan became a symbol, the Vornix would stop at nothing to destroy him. Smoke rose from the broken buildings of the city. Fires burned in the distance. But people were no longer running. They were standing, together, strong and hopeful. Evan stood in the center of the street, surrounded by a growing crowd. They had seen him destroy the Reapers. They had felt the destiny code vanish from their hands. and now they looked to him not with fear, but with trust. "We are free now," he told them. "But the fight is not over." Nova stepped forward, scanning the skies. "More ships will come. The Vorniks are regrouping. We must keep moving." Suddenly, a military truck rolled into the street. Soldiers stepped out wearing black armor. But these weren't Vorniks. They were humans. At the front stood a tall man with a scar over his right eye. His face was cold, his posture sharp. "Evan," the man said. "It's been a long time." Evan's eyes narrowed. Commander Raiden? Selena had told him about Raiden. He used to lead Earth's defense before the Vorniks took over, but many said he turned against his own people to protect the Destiny system. "What are you doing here?" Evan asked. Raiden walked closer. "To help. I've seen what you've done. You've shaken the system, freed cities. You've made people believe again." Evan didn't trust him. Something felt wrong. Raiden smiled slightly. "Let us fight with you." Evan looked at Nova. The machine stayed silent, watching, calculating. Finally, Evan nodded. "Fine, but no one gives orders unless we agree." Raiden extended his hand. Evan shook it, but his mind stayed alert. That night, they returned to the base. Selene ran to Evan, relieved to see him alive. But her smile faded when she saw Raiden. "You brought him here?" she whispered. "He offered help," Evan said. Selene looked unsure. "Be careful. He believes in order above all." Inside the command room, Raiden studied the maps. "There's a tower in the north," he said. "One of the strongest." Evan leaned forward. "Then that's our next target." Raiden nodded. "We'll leave at first light." But when night fell, Raiden moved quietly through the base. He entered a locked chamber where a communication device was hidden. He activated it. The screen lit up with a green face. "The Vorniks' queen. They trust me," he said. "The boy, the machine, the scientist, they have no idea." The queen smiled. "Good. Keep them busy. We will strike soon." Raiden's voice was calm. "Just promise me, when this is over, I will control what's left of Earth." "You will have your order," the queen replied. Back in the base, Evan couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the people he met. The old man who cried when the code vanished, the young girl who hugged him after the Reaper fell. They were real now, awake. Nova entered the room silently. "You are troubled," Evan nodded. "Something about Raiden. I don't trust him." "Trust is a risk," Nova said. "But sometimes you must take it." Evan looked at Nova. "Would you trust him?" Nova paused. "I would watch him, closely." The next morning, Evan, Raiden, and a small team moved toward the northern tower. As they reached a valley, Raiden signaled the others to stop. "There's a tunnel beneath that ridge," he said. "It will take us under the tower." They followed him. The tunnel was dark, wet, and silent. Halfway through, Raiden turned. "Evan, walk ahead. The scanner reacts better when you're in front." Evan moved forward. Then, boom! An explosion shook the tunnel. Smoke filled the space. The walls collapsed behind Evan, cutting him off from the others. Raiden smiled. "He won't be a problem now." Selene screamed through the earpiece. Evan? Evan, do you hear me? Silence. Evan coughed, pulling himself up from the dust. He was alone, trapped. He looked around. The ceiling was falling, but there was a small hole above. Light leaked in. He climbed, bruised and bleeding, until he reached the surface. He was not far from the tower, but he was alone, except for one small voice in his ear. "I read your signal," Celine whispered. "You're alive." Evan smiled. "Raiden betrayed us." "I know," she said. "We're coming." At the tower, Raiden stood with his soldiers. He had sent a message to the Vorniks. Their ships were coming. But then, shots fired. Celine arrived, with Nova and loyal fighters. A fierce battle began. Lasers, smoke, screams. The sky turned red again. In the middle of the chaos, Evan appeared. Burned, dirty, alive. He ran to the tower, reached the control panel, and activated the wrist device. The tower glitched. The signal broke. The red light turned blue. Another city was free. Raiden tried to escape, but Nova blocked him. "You chose control over freedom," Nova said. Raiden lifted his weapon, but Nova was faster. Raiden fell. Evan stood on the broken tower, looking at the sky. He was tired, but not done. "They tried to kill me," he said. Celine replied, "And you still stood up." He looked at the people gathering below. "This is more than just fighting the Vorniks," he said. "This is about choosing who we are." Above the earth, the sky was no longer quiet. From the dark side of the moon, hundreds of Vorniks ships moved fast toward the planet. The queen sat inside the largest one, her glowing fingers tapping against the screen. Her eyes were cold. "The humans are breaking the system," she said. "This ends now." On Earth, Evan stood in front of a group of survivors, rebels and former soldiers. His body was bruised, but his spirit was stronger than ever. The fall of the second tower had given hope to thousands. People across the world were waking up from the Destiny Code's control, but they all knew this was only the beginning. Inside the base, alarms started to ring. Nova checked the sky data. "They're coming. A full strike fleet. The Vorniks are not waiting anymore." Celine rushed in. "They'll reach us in 3 hours." Evan asked, "Can we stop them?" Nova replied, "Not from the ground, but if we hit their mothership, we can destroy the Destiny Core once and for all." Celine looked unsure. "That's suicide." Evan nodded. "Then we'll go out fighting." They moved quickly. Hidden inside an old mountain base was an ancient Earth ship, once used for space defense. It had been silent for years, but Nova brought it back to life. Engines roared. Lights blinked on. The ground shook as the ship rose into the sky, with Evan, Celine, Nova, and a team of brave fighters aboard. As they passed through Earth's atmosphere, the stars lit up. But so did the enemy. The sky was full of war. Laser beams flashed. Vorniks drones swarmed like insects. Earth's old ship, though, strong, was not built for this many enemies. "We won't make it through the front," a fighter yelled. Evan stood up. "Then we go through the side. Use the dark side of Saturn's ring." Celine frowned. "It's dangerous." Evan smiled. "So is everything we've done." The ship changed course, diving into the black of space. Behind them, Enemy ships followed, but the path through the rings confused their systems. Nova guided them through safely. Then, finally, they saw it. The Vornix mothership. It was massive, dark like a shadow across the stars, glowing with power. Inside that ship was the Destiny Core, the heart of the system that had controlled humanity for over a century. Evan stared at it. This is it. The Earth ship moved toward the side port of the mothership. A small group, including Evan, Celine, and Nova, entered a shuttle and docked quietly. They stepped inside. The halls were quiet, but cold. Everything was metal and light. They moved carefully, guided by Nova's map. As they reached the main chamber, a wall of guards appeared. Evan shouted, "Now!" The team opened fire. Lasers filled the air. Nova jumped into the fight, his silver body moving like lightning. Celine hacked the doors. One by one, they pushed forward. They finally reached a huge circular room, the core room. In the center floated a glowing orb, spinning with strange energy. The Destiny Core. "It's beautiful," Celine whispered. Evan said, "It's evil." Suddenly, the Vornix Queen appeared. She floated down from above, her body glowing with power. "You've come far, boy," she said. "But you will fail." Evan stepped forward. "You lied to us. You made us believe we were chosen, but we were only caged." The Queen's eyes narrowed. "And humans need cages. You are chaos without control." Evan shook his head. "We're more than you think." She raised her hand. A blast of energy hit the ground, throwing everyone back. Nova stood up first and blocked another attack. The battle began. Celine rushed to the control panel, trying to shut down the core. The Queen moved to stop her, but Evan blocked her path. Their fight was fast and brutal. The Queen was strong, but Evan fought with heart. He remembered every face he had freed, every child who smiled again, every voice that called him a hero. That gave him power. He pulled the wrist device and placed it directly on the Queen's chest. It sparked, then exploded with light. She screamed. Her power flickered. Celine shouted, "Now!" Evan ran and slammed the cube into the core. The room shook. The orb glowed red, then blue, then shattered. Across Earth, every remaining destiny tower went dark. The codes disappeared. The control ended. Evan fell to the floor, breathing hard. Nova picked him up. "You did it," he said. Celine nodded, tears in her eyes. "We're free." The ship began to collapse. The Queen's body faded into dust. The team escaped through the shuttle. Behind them, the mothership exploded in the sky. People on Earth looked up. The red glow was gone. The sky was finally theirs. The explosion lit up the sky like a second sun. Pieces of the Vornix mothership fell from orbit, burning through the clouds as they scattered across the planet. For the first time in 100 years, Earth was silent. No more code signals. No more towers. No more control. Down below, people stood in streets and fields, staring up in disbelief. The red lights on their hands were gone. Their thoughts were clear. They were finally free. On board the shuttle, Evan sat beside a small window, his face bruised, his clothes torn, but his heart full. Celine stood behind him, watching the Earth grow larger as they re-entered the atmosphere. Nova sat quietly in the corner, his glowing eyes dim but calm. "We did it," Celine said softly. Evan didn't reply. His eyes were locked on the clouds. "It doesn't feel real." "It is," she whispered. The shuttle landed gently near the ruins of the old rebel base. Crowds gathered fast, men, women, and children who had been watching the stars for hope. They saw Evan step out of the shuttle, and they cheered. A few days later, the world had changed. People gathered across cities to rebuild. They tore down Destiny Towers and painted over old signs. Music returned to the streets. Laughter filled the air. No one told others who they had to be. Choices were made freely now. Evan walked through one of the rebuilt towns, and people waved. Some called him a hero. Others simply nodded with quiet respect. But Evan didn't feel like a hero. He had only done what needed to be done. Celine sat in the shade of a tree reading her father's notebook again. Evan sat beside her. "He would have been proud," she said. Evan looked at the sky. "He started this. We just finished it." "But it was your heart that kept it alive," she said. He smiled slightly, then turned serious. "What happens now?" Celine thought for a moment. "We help people decide for themselves. That's the future. No more systems. No more codes." Evan looked down at his empty hand. No mark, no glow. "This hand used to make me feel like I didn't belong." She replied, "Now it shows you were always meant to lead." In another part of the world, in a cold, dark bunker, a small group of Vornix survivors sat in silence. Without their queen, without the core, they were weak. Lost. One turned on a broken screen and replayed footage of Evan's speech, taken from a nearby broadcast tower before it shut down. "We are not numbers. We are not property. We are human, and we decide our path now." The Vornix turned off the screen. None of them spoke, because they knew Earth was no longer theirs. Back at the base, Nova powered down slowly. His mission was complete. Celine worked beside him, recording his thoughts and memories. "You're more than just a weapon," she said. Nova replied, "I was built for war, but I found purpose in peace." Evan stood near him. "Will you stay?" "I will rest," Nova said. "But if danger ever returns, I will rise again." Evan reached out, and Nova gripped his hand. "Thank you," Evan whispered. "Thank you for proving humanity is worth saving," the AI replied. Weeks passed. Evan returned to the same ruins of New Chicago where his journey began. The broken walls were now being turned into homes. Schools were reopening. Children played without fear of scanners or codes. One little boy with dirt on his face ran up to Evan and asked, "Is it true? You touched the sky?" Evan knelt down and smiled. "No, I broke it. So you can touch it yourself." The boy grinned and ran off. Celine walked up beside him. "You could be a leader now. People would follow you." Evan shook his head. "They don't need leaders. They need choices. That's the point." That evening, Evan stood on a hill as the sun set. The sky was orange and gold, full of warmth. He remembered every step of the journey, every loss, every risk, every truth uncovered. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the now dark cube. It no longer glowed. It no longer needed to. Celine stood beside him. He looked at her and said, "Destiny was a lie." She smiled, "But freedom is real." They stood together in silence as the wind carried the voices of a free earth, and far above among the stars, the sky no longer watched them with control. It watched with wonder, because humanity had fought back and won.